Welcome to the 33rd video community of practice meeting. I'm Pankaj Agrawal, founder of Next Software Solutions and working group leader of this community of practice. Let's get started. Do we have anyone new here? I don't think so. So we have few different agenda items here that we wanted to talk about. I wish we had John here. So there are a few different things that we wanted to talk about. One was uh, the integration with H5P. So John Keevan has been working on this integration, and there was one identified issue that H5P is already using completed to identify reaching the end of the video, and currently they are not very open to changing the meaning of that. So uh, we were considering what other options we could use, and there were several different suggestions from different people in the email that went through. So if someone has not seen through the emails, um, one of the suggestion was from Jason to change the verb that we are using. I had a couple of suggestions. One was to allow allow completion on a different criteria. So currently we have a fixed logged in criteria that the video should be watched 100%, or the video should be consumed, all parts of the video should be consumed to send the completed statement. So one possibility is to make it more flexible and allow the activity provider to decide what determines completion of the video. So they could have a different meaning for the completion. It could be based on the percentage of video watched, or other criteria like reaching the end of the video. So that is one possible scenario that can be used. Another suggestion that I had was that we use that activity provider specified completion, and then we also have one more completion statement for when all parts of the video have been watched. So if anyone has any suggestions, or you favor any of these suggestions, we can discuss on that. Hello? Anyone?
Sounds a little bit noisy there, Pankaj.
I didn't get you. Just a second. I think I have some issue with my speakers. Okay, can you repeat, Jason?
No, I was just saying it's a little bit loud in the background noise there.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry for that.
I don't have much that. I mean, I made my case, I think, via email for a couple of things, but I'm fine with that or whatever. I kind of want to figure this out though, because we started a video group cohort for the xAPI cohort series, and we're probably going to be using this sample and the profile some. So I was fine too with some of the things you suggested there, Pankaj. I think Andrew Downs replied and said that didn't think we should have two events that have the same verb with different meanings of completed. So that's kind of what I think I was going to say that's kind of what H5P group, they kind of have a different meaning. Although theirs is kind of more generic. You know, we wanted completed to actually be when someone had fully watched the video, all the segments, not that it just reached the end of the video. So, and I agree with you too, Pankaj, in your replies that, you know, we've had this group going for 2 years, and, you know, just because they're doing things a different way, that shouldn't trump all the decisions and time we've put in this together as a group, I think. But we also want to try to support other implementations of video. I think the better thing to do, if we can, is to get them to, you know, kind of fully meet how we're doing things with the video profile for the H5P implementation. I'll leave it there. See if anyone else has comments.
John is also here, so it'll be good to hear you.
Anyone else?
No, Jason, I mean, I agree with your recommendation. Just if there's anything I can do to help, you know, in any way, let me know.
Okay. No, we have there's a lot of recommendations is kind of the point this package was bringing up there. We were trying to figure out if anyone else had any strong feelings about it. I know Anthony, you've been following the feed too. Jonathan, you guys want to chime in or anything? Henry also, see there.
I just lost, so I didn't hear what the what you had said, Jason. So if you don't mind repeating, then I can give my opinion.
Okay, yeah. So no, Pankaj was just highlighting the discussion we've been having via the Google group, and that we want to kind of come to some kind of consensus here about using completed, because the H5P group, of course, is using completed kind of generically, meaning the video had come to an end. Where we as a community have been working on this community practice, this profile for the past 2 years, which Pankaj pointed out in his email, and that, you know, we kind of decided that completed is going to mean that all the played segments in the video had been successfully completed. So there's two different meanings there. We need to figure out, you know, how to do this easily without breaking those existing implementations. Maybe it's that we get the H5P community to update the way they're doing things, be more in alignment with how this profiles community seeing things.
I think
and go ahead, Anthony.
I think the problem we're going to run into there is it's a bit of a fool's errand in that that's always going to happen. Even if we correct, and I'm saying correct in air quotes. I don't have the camera on, but just imagine me with air quotes. If we correct H5P, there's going to be, all right, you know, then we have the problem of JW player. When you reach the end of the video, they call it completed. Mm-hmm. So if it's not one person, it's the next, because completed generally means you reached the end of the video, at least in that parlance. That's because most people honestly don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but the priority is you played it to the end, whether you got there the long way or not, you got to the end.
Well, I mean, the verb completed carries over from SCORM, meaning, yeah, they got to the end of the lesson, or they completed all the screens in the lesson, but it could, you know, it's kind of ambiguous as to what that means. So I agree. Maybe so what you're saying is these can kind of coexist. We can't like go and force everybody to do everything the same way with a profile, but that was the whole point of creating a video profile, is that we did get more consistency. But what I'm seeing here is kind of more like, all right, there's different types of video players too. We've got H5P, we got JW player, JS video player, YouTube video player. They all may differ somewhat in their meaning of how they implement things with xAPI. So there can't necessarily be one video profile to use them all. Maybe there's a profile per player or something along those lines. It's kind of, is that how you're thinking?
Well, I'm not nearly Scottish enough to say there can be only one, but I can try. Yeah, I think the other problem is the reality is the vast majority of video is not going to have anything to do with xAPI. I mean, that's just a reality we need to accept. So I think it's unlikely they're going to change to meet us.
This is John. So my recommendation here would be, since H5P is open source and they're taking community input, and they have suggested in their responses to us and our pull requests that they plan on providing, at least at some point, more flexibility to the users and, or more like the developers, to have more control over what's in the statements. Because right now they have some limitations about what parts of the statement you can access and edit. That we instead encourage more flexibility in the statement itself, or we can leave completed as it is now. But if there was a way in H5P where you could choose via the plugin or via the tool that you use on your site or whatever to select the xAPI video profile and have those statements be generated from the profile, if you choose to follow that structure, then the people who are currently using it as completed can keep doing so. If they want to migrate, then they can choose to do that. But those people who are getting new into it and want to stay consistent with the profile can choose to do so as well. So we're not forcing anybody to do anything. I don't know if that's more of a pain to manage programmatically. I'm guessing it is, but I think it's an easier solution than trying to get everybody to align.
Right.
And they seem open to feedback and development input on how we implement xAPI moving forward. They gave us a bunch of suggestions on our pull requests, and so we're reviewing it now and trying to come up with a more efficient way that gives a little more power to what we can change in the statements.
So Pankaj, does that help any? Sounds like we're probably going, like Jonathan's saying, try to keep with the way we're doing things, and then maybe work with that community some to see if they want to incorporate that. But if they can, I don't think it breaks anything. You know, it's really the specific implementation of xAPI.
Yeah, so yes, one possibility is to keep the way we have defined. I'm sorry for the background noise.
Jason, is there ever, because when you had mentioned in the email thread about there being multiple video profiles, I hadn't really even thought about it until you wrote it down, and then I started thinking about how that might work and the rationales for doing that, aside from what verbs are people predisposed to at this point. But it makes sense to me, given in various learning contexts, that there might be adjustments to the profile for instructional design reasons. But I mean, do you foresee a scenario where people sort of choose the profiles that they want to follow based on certain rules moving forward, or that there's a golden profile for each tool, and that tool tends to stay with that profile, even if that profile is used in multiple tools?
Yeah, and I think it could, the way the profile spec is written now is you define kind of what those statement templates, how those should be structured. So, there could be the only difference between this profile implementation that we've done with Video.js and the one that xAPI is that, you know, we've got that 100% of played segments. That's kind of an internal thing that we've come up with because we, using the API for the Video.js player, we can determine what pieces of those segments have been watched and then calculate that. But you might not be able to easily do that with another player. For example, YouTube or, you know, one of the others, or JW player or whatever. So it does seem like, you know, in general, the types of verbs and activities we've defined for the profile, the vocabulary is going to be consistently used amongst all the players. There is going to be possibly some little subtle differences, but it should be more on the under the hood. I think when you define the statement templates in the profile, you know, they'll kind of look the same if we look at the way we've done things and the way that xAPI is just doing a completed at the end, because there's no way to, you know, show that in a profile document. And when I'm talking about the JSON LD document that defines all the rules, there's no way to, well, I shouldn't say there's no way. I have to go look at it a little bit, but I think our internal calculation of plague segments is all like in JavaScript. So there's nothing to really say that this profile is not meeting the rules of the video profile where we've defined all these things. So I don't know if that's is very clear, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that, yeah, kind of where you're going is that there could be multiple different types of video profiles because of the limitations of the players.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the applied thing that immediately comes to mind to me is, I mean, there's been a lot of focus, obviously, on, you guys probably aware of this, like early warning systems, predictive analytics at the institutional level. And while most of those models, a successful model appears to be able to be transferred between institutions and pretty much work across institutions, given that some institutions will have minor additions of additional predictive variables based on their local context, but the majority of the model works when you move it from one institution to another. So, I mean, that looks to me like the kind of example where you would have, I don't know if a profile is a good example here, but just a minor differentiation in the profile, even though the majority of it is the same, but given a different context, it makes sense to add a few other variables or a few other data collection elements to make sense. So I don't know. It's interesting. I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned it. So it's an interesting thing to play with.
Yep. So I think, Pankaj, that you know, we'll leave the way we're completing things there for now. Like, this is specific to how we're doing it with this Video.js player.
Yeah, so maybe we can leave it the way it is right now, and if there are more requirements from other circles, we can reconsider what other options we have, or if we can think about one of the options that we have already discussed. So there were multiple different suggestions currently for this particular problem, but I believe H5P is considering some more flexibility, and once people get used to completion as watching all or completing all parts of the video, they might probably try to force others to use that as the completion criteria rather than reaching the end. I have personally got a requirement from multiple customers who are using videos with our product, and they wanted this feature even when we were not discussing about video profile. So I know that there are people who want users to watch all parts of the video instead of skip to the end. So I hope once people get used to this criteria, we'll see better adoption.
Yep. Another option I think I had proposed was just to also send another verb if we wanted to. So completed means it played to the end. We could also say concluded. or observed or something to that effect that's used with this full calculation of all the played segments.
Yeah, and like I said, in our pull request, we called it ended, and I'm totally happy to change that. Given the feedback we got from H5P, it looks like we're going to make some changes to the pull request before we resubmit. So we do have an opportunity to change that verb if that's something we want to do. It's something we always do.
You're saying they would change it to ended instead of completed?
They're not willing to budge on completed. So they're
Okay.
completed until they have a mechanism to provide more functionality to whomever to make the adjustments that are not us. So, but in our code, we did add ended as a verb for watched all of the video. We didn't deal with less than 100%, which is an important topic we still need to deal with. But we can change the word away from ended if the group wants. We have an opportunity to do that now, where the pull request is absorbed.
Yeah, that's fine. I think ended seems kind of passive, but I guess they all could be. It's kind of a subjective thing. They all could be seen as kind of passive, like the video just played. How do you know the user actually really watched it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we see any issue if there are multiple completions sent?
I'm sorry,
Like
what was that?
one
Do we see
for when, like one of the suggestions that I made was that we can send one completion based on the activity provider's requirement. So in case of H5P, it could be reaching the end of the video. In some other cases, it might be like completion of 80% of the video or 70% of the video or whatever requirement there is. And then we have another completion sent when we have the user watch all the parts of the video. So there will be two completed with the same verb, but the progress or other information, progress or played segment information will be different.
Yeah, I mean, you could also use the result object and set the completion flag to true.
Yeah.
Only when they watch the 100%. That might be less of a payload, you know, just to turn that flag on true and then write that rule. So if it's not set in the result object, then you know it wasn't really all of the played segments that were completed.
We already know that if the progress is not one. So we already have an extension progress which will be one if the user has watched all the parts of the video. So if the progress is not one, it could be some other criteria.
So you're saying we already have a way to determine that, or it's easy?
Yeah, so if we send two completed statements with the same verb, and if progress is not one, we can believe that the other statement is based on user specific or the activity provider specific requirement. So if, let's say, University of Washington says that we want users to mark this video complete if the user has watched 90% of the video. We don't want them to watch every corners of the video. Then yes, we have that extra statement when the user reaches 90%. So the progress in that case will be 0.9, but there will be a completed statement. And then if the user goes on and really watches all the parts of the video, then there'll be another statement with progress 1.
Oh, I see. So wait, is progress, is that an extension? I can't remember.
Yeah, progress is an extension, video profile specific extension that we had created.
Okay, well, good. Let's just use that then. So you're saying we could just key off of that rather than coming up with an extra verb and making any other changes.
Yeah. So one of the objections from Andrew Downs was that there can be confusion whether these two statements were from the same attempt or they were done separately. But we can identify using either the registration ID or using the session ID. So we have those two things. If the registration ID is different, that means those two attempts were done separately, and those two completed statements don't contain information from the two different attempts. And if registration ID is not used, then we can use the session ID. So it can be easily differentiated if they were from the same attempt that the user completed based on the activity provider requirement. For example, reached the end of the video. In case of H5P, then there is a completed statement. And then if the user goes back and completes the rest of the video, which he didn't watch, then there is another statement which says progress 1. And because it was in one attempt, it will be having the same registration ID or same session ID.
Okay. So I guess we need to work on that demo or update the example we have out there to reflect that. Okay.
John, do you see any issue with that?
Sorry, I was muted. I don't think so, but I haven't spent a lot of time thinking through potential issues. I'll try to spend some time doing it.
Yeah, if we don't see any other issues with this, then I guess it would be the easiest option.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments? See, Andy and Trey made some comments earlier. We talking about finished and completed. Yeah, we had.
Yeah, I figured you guys have been down that. I just was
yeah.
for some reason. But I mean, yeah, cool. I'll take a look, and I mean, you guys. It sounds like you guys have been through this tons of times. So I mean, it's really just a matter of choosing what you think is going to be the most baseline. And I mean, I think using progress is a great idea. Have you guys kicked around just changing the actor? Because I think in some ways changing who the actor is can give you some other context too. Whereas if the user completes a video, you know, that might imply they've actually gone ahead and done all the criteria. Whereas if and I'm not suggesting use the same verb for the same actors, but it just giving an example of how if you change that completed to the player completed the video, you'd understand that the player is clearly not making a conscious decision to play all the parts of the video. The player is just in that last part and it's done.
Yeah, I've never heard that presented before. I don't know if is anybody else doing any kind of tracking of inanimate things. I think we're mostly doing analytics on the learner, wanting to do analytics on the learners whenever.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, it would just be another way of differentiating the statement. Words are probably easiest, but if in case if that was untouchable, there might be a different way around it.
To think about that a little bit more. It just never occurred to me to change the actor to the player, I guess in this case. So I'm not doing that, but I'll think about if that makes sense, how that might play out.
Yeah, we will need to think if we do it, we'll need to think if it'll be possible to do required reporting on that information.
Yeah, I mean, it could have some impact on overall analytics if you're doing a comparison of all the learners, unless you had a way to filter out players from your data bank of learners. Could be a little confusing, but yeah, that's something to consider. I did, Package, by the way, I did open up a couple of issues. I did some testing of that last update with the progress and found a couple of issues on subsequent attempts going in. It tries to resume back into the video after it was completed. Anyway, you can read about that later if you want. I submitted an issue about a week ago or something like that. But it's looking pretty good otherwise.
Yeah, I had responded to some of them, I guess. Do you have the link?
Oh yeah, I'll put it in the chat window. Also make a YouTube example if anyone wants to take a look at it. It's actually, instead of using embedded HTML5 videos where we had that example from Video.js that had a WebM video, an OGG, and MP4. You can also embed YouTube, and we just there's an extra little wrapper file that was added that it's in the YouTube dist folder, but it allows you to hit the YouTube API and tapes some of those functions that are part of the Video.js library and convert them over from YouTube, so you can actually have the same type of interactions being tracked in a YouTube video.
Do you have the code or a link somewhere we can test?
A link for what? Oh, the yeah. If you go back
YouTube
to the
example with Video.js.
Yeah, it's in the home repository there in the home directory.
Jason, I have a project that just started for me on the Maui campus. It might make sense for us to use Video.js instead of H5P. So if that happens, I should know in the next month or so. I'll let you know, let you get Pankaj know, and maybe we can get a little more live testing done with some real users with it.
Awesome.
I'll try to steer it that way. I'll let you know if it makes sense for the client.
Yeah, that'd be great. Love to try to help out with that. Be good to get some analytics here on a big group of users to compare video behaviors. We're kind of wanting to do that possibly for this xAPI video cohort, kind of compare, let's say micro videos to longer videos and maybe performance related to those, or how many people actually watch the full micro video versus the longer ones. There's a lot of interesting things you could get into.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pretty interesting studies on video length and how it affects engagement. I saw a pretty cool summary from one of the video playing company. I want to say it's like Wistia or something like that. Their data on a review of their videos was like between 0 and 120 seconds. They found an average of 70% engagement, that is completion of the video. And then it would drop down around 10 or 20% engagement level. And then you would have that engagement level for between 5 and 6 minutes. So you'd have, I think it was like 50% engagement or 60%, something in that range. I have to go look at it again in the 5 to 6 minute window. So that was like your next block. And then if you went past 6 minutes, it would drop again. So it was kind of interesting, but you could try it in different contexts, see if you guys come up with the similar result.
Yeah, that's great. Can you share that research, or is it public?
Yeah, it's public. Let me try and find it 1 second.
Anyway, back to you, Pankaj. Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to take it there.
Yeah, so I'll check the code that you have sent, and I'll see. I thought that I made some comments on that YouTube issue, but I haven't reviewed it today, so I forgot. But before we get into that, I also wanted to talk about one other interesting idea that Henry had put across to me. Um, he had a requirement where he wanted the video to be divided into chapters, and when those chapters or the sections of the video were completed, he wanted a completion to be sent to the LRS. So he was planning to use WebVTT. It is a standard which is similar, or I guess it is a replacement to subtitles. So it allows you to define sections of the video with chapter names, and if those chapters are completed, he wanted a way to be able to track those completions.
My
So
use case, yeah, my use
yeah, go
case for
ahead.
the analytics were based on, and kind of like you had there with the completed question a moment ago, is whether a section was fully viewed, and I mean I guess it equates to the timestamps of that section, which I guess you can figure it out because you have the data, but it's much more handier to have the chapters, which are in the WTT file with the start and the end time, having that available immediately as analytics.
So anyone has any thoughts, or anyone has worked with or used WebVTT before?
That video JS example uses VTT, but I think it's just for the captions. What were you guys proposing using it for? I'm confused on how you use this.
In addition to captions, you can specify chapters within the video. So if you have different topics, it's almost like the the DVD concept where you could jump between chapters. So there's different anchor points. So since the VTT spec supports it, I have a use case where it would be handy to know completion at the chapter level.
So perhaps there's some kind of extra grouping relationship or parent relationship we could provide in a statement if you wanted to show, chapters rolled up into a course or whatever. So are you guys saying that maybe we could key off of some of the data in there because of the chapters are provided?
Yeah, the chapters have a start time, end time, timestamp. So as long as that section was viewed, you satisfied the chapter.
Yeah, so it is like just like the subtitles, it'll have the start time and end time, and the text. So the text in case of subtitles is the text that is shown on the screen. In case of chapter, it is the chapter. And based on what I found, it might not be complete, but based on what I found, it will be a similar file like the subtitle file. And then when adding uh, to the HTML5 tag, there is a property called kind, and this kind is, I guess, subtitle or captions in case of subtitles or captions. For chapters, it is the kind will be chapter. So you could have chapter WebVTT as well as subtitle WebVTT together. And if you have the chapter WebVTT, we could probably use that information. I haven't got that deep, but we could probably use that information related to chapter. And we could try sending additional statements when those chapters are completed. So so let's say if there is a video which is pretty long, like 1 hour long video, there could be sections in the video which were for specific information, and those could be identified as separate chapters. And if we have completion data for that specific section in the video, we would know that this user has learned this information which that chapter identifies. So it sounds pretty interesting to me, but yes, it would be good to know the views of others.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have another example that used chapters.
Another possibility could be that the information is transferred to the LRS in some other way, and then the reporting tool could analyze the played segments information in the LRS and use that to determine if the chapters were completed. So that would be more complicated reporting with the existing statements that we already have. So because we already have the played segments with the video profile, we have the information in the LRS whether specific segments were watched or not. It is just not analyzed. So if that information is analyzed, we could, or the reporting tool could identify if specific sections or the specific chapters in the video were watched. Okay, so any other thoughts, or should we move ahead? Okay, so before we move ahead to the issues, I would also want maybe Jason, if you could tell something about the video cohort, the cohort that is going on, and the video group.
Yeah. So, years ago, ADL used to run a community cohort activity where we kind of got everybody together with areas of interest to figure out, what is possible with xAPI, and work together in independent groups and come up with a little demo. And it was really successful. ADL decided a couple years ago they were no longer going to be able to sustain that, and Megan Torrance, Torrance Learning, decided, hey, we still need this in the community. They picked it up, and they had a kickoff last week, and anyone can still join. Let me get a link and I'll put it in the window. I think most of you already know about it. If you haven't already joined, it's torrancelearning.com/xAPI cohort. Again, I'll put it in the chat window here. It's pretty interesting though. They had over 500 people register for it, and there was over 200 on live last week. I mentioned they wanted everyone to form into teams. I didn't see one on video. It looked like, going back and looking at last year's teams, it looked like someone started one on video, but they never did anything, and some people got mad and left or whatever. But I think we've got a good opportunity here to get some more traction with the video profile and what we've been doing in this group. Possibly even get more people to join us. So I joined the group. I'm facilitating it. Invite all of you guys to join as well. Once you register for the cohort, then you'll get access to the weekly meetings. They'll send you a reminder, and you can also join the Slack channel, which is what I set up. I set up a Slack channel where we're kind of just meeting asynchronously right now. I don't really have time to have a weekly meeting with these people. I may just send them a bunch of resources. I'd like to send them some of our resources we've put together over the past 2 years. I think that would be a great starting place for everyone. But there's a great amount of interest. A lot of people are excited. I think over 30 people joined the xAPI video channel. So that's it. We're looking forward to doing something over the next few months. I think May is our deadline to do something. I'd like to look at maybe some of the research ideas like Jonathan was talking about earlier, and different types of video length and analytics around that. But that's kind of the objective in a nutshell. We could get into also possibly looking at xAPI implementations with other players and things like that. But I think that's trying to keep the scope kind of small as now. There's a lot of people that are new to xAPI in the cohort, so they really are just trying to learn the basics. And I think our demo using Video.js provides a good example of seeing how things work under the hood too. So, 39 people, Anthony says. So yeah, it's a growing group. Anyway, love to have you guys there. If you want to help facilitate it, just let me know. I'll add you to the list. That's it. Oh, I'll put a link in the chat as well.
Do you have?
Here's for the Google Doc we're signing up for, but try to register for the cohort link if you all can.
Do you have any plans on what project will be done?
Not yet. I guess we still. I mean, just for kind of generally, I mentioned micro video, maybe video length. There's other ideas. I'm looking for ideas. So.
Okay, great. So maybe this chapters could be one possible thing that can be done.
Sure.
Cool. That's neat. That's a lot of people. It's a lot bigger than the cohort I was on. I think I did cohort it was pretty small.
A lot of interest in it.
The first xAPI cohort had. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, there's a little latency here.
The first xAPI cohort had a video-related group, and which had only one person, which was me, and I had worked on YouTube integration for xAPI, and from that, this xAPI profile idea had come up, and that is why we are here. So xAPI cohorts have been really very good, and it has been able to promote xAPI a lot.
I think so.
On another note, Jason, when I got my invite to the Slack channel, it came from Andrew, and that reminded me that Andrew Bounds had posted in a couple of the H5P threads that he was hoping the video profile would review and conform to some of the older video standards that video, I don't know if there were profiles at the time, but previous video verbs that have been defined by the xAPI community that he linked to in one of the threads. I don't know if it was ADL or who made those. But anyways, I just couldn't remember if we looked at those or not, and to what extent we tried to match them. So if we didn't, it might be good to go back and just look at those.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's talking to without some more context. It's hard to answer that.
I'll find the thread and give you guys a link in the Slack channel for the video group so we can take a look at it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we did. He might be talking about the old tin can stuff, but I mean, all that, I don't think any of that stuff works anymore. Every time I go to well, there's a couple links. Maybe he's talking about yeah, I think he's talking about the tin can registry. Here, I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah, he seemed to imply that, what is he? He's with Watershed, right? Whichever LRS he's with, that they use those as part of their system for some sort of visualization, I'm assuming. I don't know, I've never used Watershed, but that they're relying on those older verbs. So
Yeah, that's that's something that's always been kind of an issue. ADL creating verbs, and then the rest of C software decided they were going to go and create something, and then got mad when it conflicted. But I don't know how to fix that. There's a lot of duplicates out there, like between even the activity streams verbs and the ADL ones. Like I don't know if you guys can go to that page that I just sent you for the video profile, but the completed verb, they're using the activity streams complete, where we're using the ADL one. So yeah, I think that's like an issue. That's one of the issues we're talking about with the IEEE tag group. And there's some things that need to be resolved, and part of it is really this issue of decentralization versus curated vocabulary. And it's something we've talked about with this IEEE group for future versions of xAPI. I think maybe, I know Andy's on here, maybe that's something we can, as a community, figure out when the next version of xAPI is really put some kind of stake in the ground and say, look, all of the old pin can stuff or activity stream stuff is deprecated. Now let's everyone use the same ones going forward, and it's curated and controlled by the community, not by any one company. But some kind of decision like that has to be made, or this whole governance concern around xAPI is just going to continually exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like they're just using skipped, play, paused, and completed, which I think the profile we've worked on does a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's hard to use the ones they used when we've got more contextual meaning behind this particular video profile. And that one was probably created like 6 years ago. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to adopt something that's old when we've made all these decisions together as a group.
Yeah, we had gone through all this information when we started, and we made decisions based on what would be best. So yes, no, the verb and verb IDs have been a point of confusion from the time we started the Tin Can API 0.9, and at that time we had some verbs in the xAPI spec and in the Tin Can spec, I would say. And then I think it was dropped off in 0.95.
Yeah.
So there had been a lot of back and forth on that, and finally, I think these vocabularies have at least given something that people can rely on.
Yeah, you it's just one of those growing pains. We needed something, so we imported all the activity streams stuff. It is what it is, but yeah.
If you want to just get a little more context on Andrew's perspective, that link, his top post is the one that he was listing a bunch of historical practice. So.
Okay. Yeah, it was going to the registry, probably.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so few minutes. We have few minutes, but yes. So Jason had posted some of these issues, and it's really good to see these come up. I checked it, but I thought that I'd responded, and somehow I missed it. So yes, some of these are, I think, just oversight that needs to be fixed in the demo code. For example, this one says if I let the video play until the end, the video progress percentage is 1. However, completed statement is not sent. A paused statement is sent. So it sounds pretty obvious that it should have sent a completed statement, and it is pretty odd that we didn't figure this
Yeah.
out before. So yes, it
But
needs
notice
to
this
be.
is Pankaj. Notice this subject is on replay. So this is only happening on the second attempt on replaying a video, not on the first attempt. The first attempt it sends a completed. This is if you reload or refresh the page, it does this. Does that make sense?
Okay. So this first point, it happens after we reload, or
Yes.
on the first attempt, if we don't pause anywhere, it just goes to the end and it doesn't send the completion.
That's right. Not on the first attempt, on the reload.
Okay. Okay, good. So yeah, we'll have to check and fix it. If I refresh the browser window and click the play button and video doesn't start. So this thing is only when the first one happens. That is, player user reached the end of the video and got stuck there.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
If they stop anywhere else, the refresh works fine, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this was happening after I had played a video and it got to the end, and my only option was to hit reload or refresh the browser. So this is all happening after the video played from start to finish on the first attempt.
Yeah, so I guess one of the reason is that when you reload, it tries to start from where you ended last. And in this case, it is trying to start from the end of the video. And when you are at the end of the video, it is not able to start.
That's right.
So one of the reason can be because it is, I think the current demo destroys the player when you reach the end of the video.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you do recall that.
So yeah, so probably we need to change that so that if user jumps through and reaches the end, he has an option to come back and complete the rest of the video.
A couple of people got to drop off. Yeah, that's fine, guys.
Yep, no problem. The video plays until the end and video progress stays at 1. The completed statement is never sent, only pause statement. This is just same as 1, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just playing. It plays through again. Is all I'm saying. It does that again. Yep. Maybe that's a repeat.
So notice that if I try to replay attempt on the video, pause but never sends a post statement. It sends a seed statement for some reason when I click play. Can you explain this one?
Yeah, this is after you replay the video, given that condition, if you click the pause button at any point, it sends a seek statement after you try to click play to play the video. It doesn't send a played or paused at all. Usually it sends played and pause verbs, but for some reason after the second attempt, it sends, if you click play and pause, it sends a seek statement. It's kind of odd.
When you reload the page, right?
Yep, when you reload it. This is after going through it one time successfully first.
Okay. This is pretty odd. Okay, so we'll need to see and fix. I'll try to take a look on those.
And the behaviors, yeah, okay, that sounds good. The behavior was a little bit different on the YouTube example, but similar things were going on. But it was all related to that second attempt. After the first.
So this one is also related to the same scenario.
Yep, it's only on replay subsequent attempts.
Okay.
Otherwise, they work fine. I didn't even notice it initially.
Complete the progress is 1 or 1%.
It should be 1. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So in this YouTube case, the completed statement is also sent. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
If I reload, refresh the page using browser and play the video, then it has to adapt to this specific segment.
That should say it shouldn't try to resume at 80% of a completed video. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it should
start from the beginning. If I reload it and already completed it. So if you have watched the entire video and you are at the end of the video when you were last, and then you replay or restart, reload the page instead of starting at the end or the start, it starts at 80%.
Right. I just updated that comment to say it shouldn't try to resume at 80%.
Okay. It's pretty odd that it randomly selects 80%. There's nothing to suggest
Yeah.
it should start at
Yeah,
80%.
it was weird. I don't know why that much.
Very, very odd. Progress doesn't update past 0.88 after that. Continues to log progress 0.8 and next completion check in. So until the video is completed. When the video is completed, it does update to 1 again.
Yeah, see if you can reproduce any of those issues when you get a chance, Paul, because I don't think they were specific to me, but
integrated statement is
testing on Chrome, I think.
okay. So all this is happening with the video sample that you have, the sample code that you have. Sorry, that you have here, right?
Yep, with the YouTube example. Mm-hmm.
This one.
Yep, and the other one was for the just the other example, the ocean life.
So how would I play this?
That's the library. It's in the root or the home directory of the repo. It's a
okay,
YouTube
this
HTML.
one.
Yeah.
So if I play this YouTube HTML, it will play the video, YouTube video.
That's right.
Okay, great. Fine. We are already 5 minutes past time.
Yep.
So if anyone wants to leave, and if Jason, if you are late, you can let me know. If you have few more minutes, we can review the other tickets as well. So I guess one more left, right? This one.
Yep. Yep. I've got a few minutes. It's fine.
Already. And I had checked, so okay, fine. So you said that we can remove the quality extension from the demo.
I just commented it out for now because like you're saying, there may be a way to get the quality setting from the YouTube API. I haven't tried to do that yet, but
okay,
it seems like there's not really a way to calculate, and it's really YouTube specific, So you could do it with like a YouTube video if you wanted to see if they change the quality in the player. But that player, when it's not going to work with a video JS. That would have to be, a specific YouTube And there's some examples out there that other people have done using the YouTube API. That would be specific to xAPI with YouTube's player, because that quality setting doesn't show up when you play a YouTube video inside of Video.js.
Okay. So I think one possible solution is to try and see if we can somehow find the information via Video.js from YouTube, or if we cannot do that, or instead of just removing quality, one thing we can see is if we can remove quality if that information is not available. So if the information is available, we can use the information, and if it is not available, we just don't send that information in the statement. The quality
Yeah,
is
that makes sense.
actions.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's just commented out for now. You'll see if you pull the repo down. I just commented it for now
Okay.
because it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't setting it.
Fine. So fine. I'll take a look at the issues that you mentioned, and if anyone else can work on it, that'd be great as well. Okay, so anything else?
No. Thanks, Pankaj. Thanks
Okay,
everybody.
great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll meet 5th of next month, which is the first Monday of March.
Sounds good. See you then.
Bye-bye.